Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're doing a special early look at the main event of UFC 181 right now. Of course, Lawler and Hendricks is about a month away. Today is November 10th, but the line's already out, so we're going to get some early thoughts on the fight and the odds from Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. Nick Kalikas, of course, our regular guest covering every UFC main card with us. He opens MMA odds, MMA lines, and he consults for numerous sportsbooks on MMA odds making. Nick Kalikas, thanks for being back with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Lawler-Hendricks, the rematch, you know, a huge fight, right? And it's an interesting handicapping situation because the first fight was, I mean, it was a great fight. It was really very close. I believe the score on all the judges' cards was just had just a 1-point differential, and Hendricks has been out of commission since that fight because he had like a bicep injury, so he's been rehabbing a bit. Lawler, though, has had 2 fights, right? He knocked out Ellenberger and then had a tough decision against Matt Brown in July. So the question is, does the inactivity help or hurt Hendricks? Does all that fighting, time for Lawler help him or maybe hurt him? Maybe he's getting a little bit worn down. How much does the closeness of the last fight factor in here? First let's just get your take. Where'd you open this line?
Open at -270 for Hendricks this time.
You opened it at -270 because you thought that that the public, if you opened it any lower, would just pour in on Hendricks?
Yeah, they did last time. I mean, obviously most people were on the favorite there in Hendricks, and at the same time, Hendricks came in with an arm injury and still performed really good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to take in consideration, and Hendricks just typically gets a lot more respect than Robbie Lawler. Now, of course, that being said, things have changed. I mean, Lawler's starting to get that respect where he's due. I mean, it's about time people noticed how good this guy is, especially at 170. As you know, I'm pretty sure we went over the last fight on the show as well,
yeah.
And I was all over Robbie Lawler. I mean, so I'm still licking my wounds because it was such a close dog, and I got such a great price in that spot, and I was that close, but it didn't hit. And you got to give a lot of credit, I think, to Johny Hendricks. He fought a good fight. He definitely deserved to get that W. It was a war, and I think he just did enough to edge it out. But like you just said, with the time off, with Lawler getting that new improved confidence and keep on getting that momentum back, sort of say, he's looking to be another possible live dog here.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you open the line at -270, I don't know where the other books opened it, but right now at 5 times, I'm seeing Hendricks at -220, Lawler plus 180. So I'm assuming that the early action is favoring Lawler.
Actually, I think it got bet up a little bit and then back down. It's kind of been steady. It's been out for a while now, so it's steady, dropped and tightened up a little bit too. The margins got a little bit tighter as well. So it has a little bit more action coming in, more recent, of course, on Lawler. A lot of people do respect his, like I said, his knockout power now. They know that he's got the skill set more times than not to keep it upright. And if he does keep it upright, I mean, most fighters he's capable of finishing, if not at least outpointing on the feet. So I think they're finally giving him that respect. But Hendricks will get some support back for sure.
All right, and then just from a handicapping perspective, I'm not a sharp enough MMA handicapper to be able to answer this question. Just, is your sense that time off for Hendricks would help him here or hurt him? And I mean, I know that, if someone has been away for, more than a year, that's a big negative. But here, it hasn't been that long. And Lawler, he's had 2 fights, 2 wins, but, do fighters wear down if they fought like that, or do they pick up a kind of consistency that'll probably help them?
Well, I mean, that Brown fight takes a lot out of you.
Sure,
I mean,
right.
It has to, because that was a war. That was an amazing fight. So it is a little bit of concern because, you know what, if you look at it closely, Robbie Lawler's been getting tagged in his recent fights as well. I mean, more times than not, he's the one doing the damage and he's the one landing the more devastating shots. But that being said, he's got a solid chin. But he's taken some punishment. I mean, he's been wobbled himself. So against a guy like Hendricks, I mean, arguably Hendricks is one of the hardest hitters in the weight class. I mean, no doubt about that. He's got tons of power and he can knock most people out. Now they were able to absorb each other's punishment in the first fight, but again, different situation here. I mean, Lawler has been more active, but like you said, it could actually hinder him a little bit. But that being said, also, I think that Hendricks' time off might hurt him as well. I mean, I think you have to it's good that his body's going to get to heal a little bit, not just his arm and what he's went through with the injuries and stuff, because he's going to be a fresher fighter because he had time to just really, I mean, rest up and heal properly, really. But that being said, I mean, he has to have a little bit of rust coming in, but he's an elite athlete. I mean, we know what he's accomplished in the wrestling realm, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in and maybe shakes off a little bit of rust in that first round and does pretty good as well. So this is an awesome fight. I can't wait to see it again, and I'm glad that Lawler went on his run to deserve another shot at it.
Just looking at the odds right now, again, at 5 times I'm seeing -220, plus 180 on the other side, and just speculating on where this line might move, where it might close. My sense is, and again, the betting public a lot lot better than I do, but my sense is that closer to fight time, the public will see the first fight, see how close it was, and probably favor Lawler and bet the line down even further, just because they'll see it and say, all right, you know, it was so close last time, this one's going to be close again. Why would I not take a decent-sized underdog here?
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, this is a tricky one, honestly, because I could also see a lot of people coming back in and supporting Hendricks, like I said, due to the fact they're going to say, oh, his arm was hurt. It was close only because his arm was hurt that first time going into that fight. And he's proven that, you know, he can do some damage and he can hang in there standing up with Lawler as well. He had success in the first fight. And his gas tank might be a little bit better as well. I mean, Lawler's gas tank is solid for sure, but he does tend to fade as the fight goes on. And that's kind of what cost him the first fight, to be honest with you. He slowed down just enough to let Hendricks take over in the late rounds. And you know, Hendricks did what he had to do, and he ended up getting that nod, basically winning the 5th round is what kind of, you know, gave him that fight. So if that's a similar situation, and don't forget how much support these wrestlers, these collegiate wrestlers, the all-American wrestlers tend to get from the betting public out there in general. So that's what makes me think it's a little bit tricky. I could see the line closing a little bit higher than it is now, closer to my opener, or you could be very right, and we could see some legit sharp dog action come in on Robbie Lawler, because, man, it is hard to lay juice against somebody as talented as Lawler. I mean, you're asking for it, really.
So you said that in the first fight, the public was majorly on Hendricks, right? Like, it was very lopsided.
Yeah, it was. I mean, overall, I mean, back and forth action, but the sportsbooks needed Lawler to come through. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. We came back close, like I said. But in this fight, I think we will probably have more balanced action. And I kind of wanted more balance, to be honest with you, because I think the line here is a lot more real than, you know, the first time. It was just a lot more hype on Hendricks, and Lawler wasn't getting that respect. Here it's a little bit more down to earth. Like you said, I think there might still be value in Robbie Lawler, though, at this price, or if it gets bumped up, especially if it does climb back up, then it's definitely Lawler or pass. But this is probably a safer fight. I mean, I tend to underestimate how good Hendricks is and his improvement at times myself, honestly, and I think the guy is definitely legit, and he deserves the respect, and he deserves to be at the level of champion. I mean, both these guys do, to be honest with you. It's a shame there's got to be a loser. I know that's a little cliche to say, but it's true. I mean, both these guys would definitely dominate most people in the division, and they could be realistically the best 2 welterweights right now at this time on the planet.
All right, so then maybe I'm misanalyzing this. Maybe then the public, you know, they were all over Hendricks the first time, and they won with him, so they have that in their minds, and they'll come right back and try to do it again, right?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I could really see it, the line climb back up and maybe end up around 3-1 or so against Lawler. Then I would be honestly tempted to come back in and take the dog for sure at that price. Right now, myself, I'm thinking at where the current price is, I'm not too tempted to bet either side. Like I said, if I had to bet it, I'd probably bet Lawler instead of Hendricks at this point. But if the line creeps up a little bit, then maybe there would be a little bit more value on Lawler, because, man, he came close that first fight to finishing Hendricks as well. Let's not forget that. I mean, he did more damage, and he was probably a little bit closer for sure to finishing that fight. So it's probably Lawler or pass. Again, don't lay juice against somebody that can knock you out like that. I don't think it's a good idea at all. So, all
right, Nick Kalikas, thanks so much for your early thoughts on this. We will, of course, preview this fight in depth once again in a few weeks when we cover the whole main card of UFC 181. Thanks so much, Nick. Talk to you then.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.